This is my weekly Q&A where I drop into the comments and respond to questions you've asked me about your book, your publishing options, and everything in between. All right, with all that said, let's dive into the first question today. I have a hypothetical question that I can't figure out by researching. If an author wants to get their book in a book box, how would they do it? Would the approach differ if they were self-published versus traditional? If you are interested in including your book in a monthly book box subscription of some kind, which there are a lot out there geared toward voracious readers who want new reads every month or every other month. Typically, this would be something set up by your publisher if you are going through a publishing house. If you are self-publishing, you would have to get in touch directly, I imagine, with the people running the book box subscription service. It may be possible that they are only considering traditionally published books just from a sourcing angle, or they might already have relationships with certain publishers, but it certainly couldn't hurt for you to give it a shot and see if they would be open to including your book. Here's the next question. Hey Alyssa, I've got a question with regards to querying. I've been querying a novel I wrote for the last nearly year or so. So far, no bites. Since I started querying, I've rewritten and revised another book, completely unrelated, not a sequel. My question is, for agents that I want to submit both books to, should I wait some amount of time before sending the query for the second book, or should I send out the query for the second book immediately after receiving a rejection for the first? Additionally, if there is a wait time, should that time be shorter when the agent specifically stated in their rejection that they'd be interested in me querying them with my future work? If an agent gives you a rejection but says they're open to seeing other projects by you and you already have another completed manuscript, I think it's okay to go ahead and send that one to them, especially because they've already opened that door and said they would like to see more from you. That said, if the agent gives you a rejection and doesn't necessarily give that open door for you to submit future projects to them, you typically can still query them with other projects, but you may consider whether you want to send it immediately or wait a bit. The truth is that literary agents likely aren't going to review your query immediately after you send it anyway. It's likely going to go back into their submissions queue. The issue with this approach really starts to happen if you consistently keep querying them with a new project immediately after a rejection. Say you do that 3 or 4 times with a new book each time. That could maybe turn an agent off just because to them, it could seem like you're just trying every single angle and maybe don't have a specific focus on the book project you really want to pursue. So you should keep that in mind and also make sure that you check the agency and agent's specific query instructions. If they say they no longer want to receive future queries from you after a rejection, then abide by that. If they say they would be happy to consider future work, but they would like some type of waiting period, then abide by that. If they don't specify, use your best judgment, but the idea is to just not continually bombard them with manuscripts. It doesn't sound like that's your plan, but keep that in mind. Here's the next question. I've sent my story to beta readers and have since hired an editor. Now, with that being said, the beta readers say they like my story. They say it keeps them turning the pages and the dialogue is true to nature. The editor hasn't really made a lot of changes, just the usual. However, when I've queried the book, I am met with utter silence every time. No response from anyone. At this point in time, I would welcome a flat-out rejection. What am I doing wrong? If you are querying and you've literally heard no responses at all from literary agents, let's take a pause and figure out what might be going on. The first question is, how long has it been since you sent out those queries? If it has been within a month or maybe even 2 months, it is very likely that agents just haven't yet gotten to your query. As we know, agents typically have dozens, if not hundreds, of queries to get through at any given moment, and they do want to spend enough time with each query to give it their true attention. It really could be the case they simply haven't seen your query quite yet. Now, if it has been, say, 6 months, and the agents on your list say that if you haven't heard from them within 3 or 6 months, whatever the time is, to consider it a rejection, then we need to look at these as rejections. In that case, let's take a look at how many agents you've queried overall. If you have queried 10 agents and no one has gotten back to you and it's been 6 months, so you're considering them rejections, that's not really a very large sample of agents. So maybe you could send out another batch of 10 or 15 queries and see how those pan out. It's a different story if you've sent out 100 queries and no one has gotten back to you and it's been 6+ months. But I'm presuming that's not the case here specifically because it's likely that several would have gotten back to you if you really queried that many. There are so many factors to consider with querying. If at the end of the day, you're just not sure if your manuscript is as strong as it could be helpful to engage with a critique partner or a professional developmental editor, specifically who has experience in your genre. Maybe they could pick up on things that you aren't seeing in the manuscript and help you elevate it to the next level. That said, if you feel the manuscript is super, super strong, then just keep querying. You aren't necessarily doing anything wrong, and it just does take a lot of time. In addition to these Q&As, I also do weekly deep dives, either into an aspect of the publishing industry, as that's my professional background, or I give you tactical tips you can apply to your work in progress right now. So if you're a writer, I definitely recommend subscribing. Here is our final question today. Do the Big Five publishers ever shy away from authors who have been published by small independent publishers, or does that actually increase their interest? I suppose maybe the success of the published books is a factor. Some additional context. I am a horror writer thinking of writing a more extreme horror novel that might not be marketable to the Big Five. Wondering if getting this published through a small press would later hurt my chances of getting Big Five published with more marketable books. There are many small or indie presses out there that are highly reputable, and publishing with them does not by any means exclude you from eventually publishing with the Big Five down the line. If there is a reputable, small, or indie press that is a great fit for your book and you would like to be published by them, go ahead and pursue that. It is not going to be a deal breaker down the line for you to get traditionally published for a different book. And there are certainly examples of authors who have done just that, moved from smaller presses to the Big Five. The key with small or indie presses is to make sure that they are actually reputable and they're not really hybrid or vanity presses masking themselves as traditional publishers. There are unfortunately a lot of scams in this particular space, so you want to do your research, check out their deals on Publishers Marketplace, maybe even speak to an author who has been published by them, see where they're distributed, get a sense of how much marketing and publicity efforts they provide you, and make sure this is an experience that would be good for your personal publishing goals. If your book is successfully published through a reputable small or indie press, that absolutely could help you down the line when you want to go with a bigger publishing house. At the end of the day, the book business is a business. So if you are getting a lot of sales and you're building a great audience, then a bigger publisher would likely be interested in taking a piece of the pie and capitalizing on that as well. That's all we had time for today. Thank you so much to everyone who dropped me a question. And if you have one you'd like to ask, leave me a comment and it will be added to my queue. Before you head out, don't forget your free story self-assessment worksheet and my newsletter. Those links are in the description. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on my next video, and give me a thumbs up if you want me to keep doing these Q&As. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.